For that, the private moments should stay private. Which I probably have a problem with, apparently, but yeah. I don't want you to feel like you can't come to me in a time of need and worry that it's going to be, like, told to other people, so I am sorry.
Well, hey guys, welcome to Little Black Book 91. I'm giving you guys a quick review of Martha's Vineyard, Season 2, Episode 4, The Summer House. I want to say this straight and first and foremost. I think it's quite interesting, this episode, because there's a lot of things that were actually really deeper than what we were looking at the very surface of things, right? We had Summer and Jordan go for a conversation, and at first I made a judgment, which was, I felt like Jordan did Summer some disrespect, and I still do feel that way. But as I heard a bit more of Jordan's story, I felt that I think her mother had passed. You know, she had to, basically she lost a bit of her time in terms of being for herself, had to be a bit more selfless. I can start to kind of see how the situation between her and Summer is beginning to play out. And what's interesting is that Summer is doing, what happened to Summer, it's the same thing that, what Jordan did to Summer is what Summer did to Shanice. It is the inconsiderate behavior of the other party's feelings, right? So even though your feelings got addressed, you didn't address the other party's feelings, right? And something I'm starting to notice about all the way that they're communicating, Summer, Noelle, Jordan, Jasmine, Bria, the way that they're communicating is very interesting because it's very indirect. And so feelings are going to be set off when people are passing through imaginary boundaries that have not been stated before time. Boundaries are essential because they let people know how far they can go, right? And so Summer not giving Shanice in the last episode, not really respecting Shanice. Now Summer being disrespected by Jordan. Jordan feeling disrespected by Jasmine. You know what I mean? Like, it seems to be going round and round. Bria now being offended by Jasmine. You know what I mean? Like, it seems to be going round and round because people have boundaries that are being crossed, and the emotions are beginning to spur. And so we're going to break down this episode. I'm not going to do too long because I want to be able to do separate breakdowns, especially Summer and Jordan, which I really think that can help people going forward as well, right? So if you're new to the channel, make sure you like, share, subscribe, click on the bell button for notification of the uploads. We appreciate you guys. Stay locked and stay loaded. Let's get into this video. Let's go. Okay, I'm going to go further back because we know to obviously start off. I want to start with Noelle. Poor girl. Hold on.
Jordan.
Whew. Ain't nobody want to be in that position. Poor Noelle, after expressing her feelings to Alex, she realizes how painful the rejection actually is. But she shared some really powerful information. If you watch the episode, she shared that how her father, she longed for her father. And I want to do a separate video for that. She literally longed for her father. And when you're in a place of longing, and you are unaware of maybe that desire being a heavy lead generator to the kind of men that you're attracted to, you might find yourself in situations where you're consistently being hurt, rejected, being used and abused. And the reason being is because once we are longing for something so much, sometimes our boundaries go out the window. Our ability to govern the gates that begin to dictate what goes in and what goes out begins to be very weary, and our discernment begins to falter because of the desire of wanting something so much that we remove ourselves from the position of standing guard at the gate and we step out. Now anything can come in and anything can go out. Right? Now, what was interesting with Noelle's situation with Alex was that actually the people gingered her up to go and have the conversation, especially Summer, bad mind behavior. They gingered her up to go and have a conversation. And as she went to have the conversation, rejection hit. Now, rejection is a part of life. We grow from rejection. It hurts, it's painful, but we grow from it. And what's intriguing is that she had already told Alex previously how she felt. He admitted it in the last episode. Oh, I already knew. And told him again. Why? Because the first time he didn't hear it, she wanted to let him know the second time so she can confirm it, right? Oh, just in case you missed it, I want to tell you again that I'm feeling you. But the reality was he heard it the first time. He just didn't acknowledge it. When they oftentimes don't acknowledge it, most times when people don't acknowledge something, it's not that they don't acknowledge it. They don't want to acknowledge it. They don't want to know. They don't care like that. And so, unfortunately, what you'll realize is that you actually set yourself up for failure. But the reason why she sets herself up for failure is because this is not about Alex. It's about her dad and her relationship with her father and what she wanted from her father. To be seen, to be heard, to be loved, to be covered, to be protected, to be wanted, to be desired. And then she finds a similar role in Alex, wanting it so bad, she's going to do whatever she can to make it happen. Because in this instance, her dad is not here, but Alex is. So she's going to do whatever she can to make it work. The pain of that rejection is that it hits and connects with a past pain that you have, and it magnifies that pain that you're feeling in that moment. So yes, while your hands are on your eyes and everything, it's because you're deeply connecting with that wound from the past to a present wound right now. And there's going to be questions. Am I good enough? You know, why do men don't want me? You know, why doesn't... No, but it's not men don't want you. The ones that you want don't want you, which is also the same thing with your father. The one that you want your father to want you, he doesn't want you. And so now you go after unrequited love because you've been unrequited in your love with your father. It's just painful. But let me not go too deep, because like I said, I'll do a separate video for that. Then obviously we get another situation. Let's move it on, because this situation just kicked up a storm.
Telling somebody that I'm not on good terms with anything to do about my life, let alone something as personal as me losing.
Oh, good Lord saw it fit to pause that show, he said. Okay, so Jordan is feeling some type of way about the fact that Summer released this information. Now, I'm going to deal with it separately before I deal with it together. Separately, I understand where she's coming from. If I share information with you, I don't want you sharing it with somebody who I don't want you to share it with. Okay? Right? Now, of course, Jasmine and Jordan have had their issues in the very first episode and previous season, and they're not seeing necessarily eye to eye at this particular moment. Their friendship isn't so tight, so she hasn't told Jasmine. In the midst of, I think it was in the midst of the argument that we see, or at least we see a flashback, Summer is crying, and I think that's where Jasmine gets told about the fact that, you know, she has been helping Jordan or whatever, and it got released, and I'm not sure when it exactly got released, but that information has obviously got back to Jasmine. Jordan has every right to feel some type of way, right? You don't want that information to get out. It's all again about what boundaries. You don't want your personal, emotional information, mental information, things that are happening to you physically as a body. You don't want that information passed to a party that's beyond your walls, right? You trusted Jordan, you trusted Summer with that information, and she has leaked it to someone who you didn't want it to leak to. You have every right to feel frustrated. Every right. Yeah. But I'm not going to argue that. That is your boundary, and that is your right. You understand what I'm saying to you? Yeah? We'll come back to her later on. Don't worry about that. We're going to come back to her later on. Don't stress, guys. We'll get there. Okay? We'll get there. I promise you.
Person to talk about that, too.
Yeah.
Wait, she needs from the church? You ready?
Sorry.
And so...
How did I use it again?
Because it seemed like she needs new details around y'all's room when she was crying.
Yeah.
That she was like, I don't know why that was anyone's business, but the person there.
So obviously Summer also had a conversation with Preston, and at least she has some self-awareness to go, actually, I do know what you're talking about, right? So in that conversation later on they're going to have, she's going to apologize, which is fair, right? But I want to make it very clear, Summer doesn't have to, look, two wrongs here, and we can both apologize, and we can also both present our ideas and our thoughts, right? Now, Summer's talking to Preston, she's getting a good talking to, and she's getting some idea of what wrong she has done. Now, who spoke to Jordan? No, who spoke to Jordan? See, when we start doing well, we can't see it. Maybe they did. We can't see it. Right now, it sets a precedent of imbalance when only one person's being spoken to about their wrongs, when it was actually both people on the wrong. She felt some type of way about Jordan's behavior and about her loudness. In fact, the group is willing to give Jordan a pass for being so, quote unquote, loud and maybe potentially even feel a little bit disrespectful in the way she talks. Because of what? Because she's Jordan, or because of the alopecia she's going through? Either way, it doesn't make a difference. They're still giving her a pass. And in doing so, it feels unfair to Summer that you can give her a pass and not give Summer a pass. And I understand that. That's going to be very, very painful. It makes it feel like it's personal to Summer. Even though it may not be personal to Summer, it may be that people are understanding that Jordan's going through her moment right now. Now, that would mean that they would all have to know about her alopecia. Or rather, it's a case of the fact that they're so used to her, which they said, these are the words they said last episode, they're so used to her being that way, it's normal. But they're not used to you being that way. And I used to hate that. I feel someone this one. I hate that feeling. So it's like being in school and the bad kid is allowed to be bad because he's always bad, but you be bad and like, no, I expected so much more from you. No, don't expect more from me. Everybody should have a balance here. I'm sorry, right? I get to have opportunity to be at least wild out once, and I'm gonna be chastised worse than the person who's actually bad. I need you to fix up. Okay, I'm gonna need you to fix up. All right. So I understand that frustration too. Let's go on. Let's go on.
I can't find my hydro.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Not Noel comforting. I mean, not Shanice comforting.
I don't know if I could ask him anything. It would just be like, why?
Not Summer comforting Noel. Meanwhile, Summer is the actual reason why Noel is in that place. When I say actual reason, let me just rephrase this. Everybody's responsible for their own actions. So Noel can't blame Summer for this. But what I'm going to say is Summer was a part of the influence of pushing her towards that thing. Right? Everybody's tempted by the things that's within themselves. Right? The Bible says in James that we are tempted by the desires that we have within ourselves. So Noel has to be responsible for the choice that she made. But the reality of the situation, that choice was also helped by an influence, by a word, by words that were spoken by Summer, knowing that she had a deeper feeling towards Alex. Right now, again, they did try to let Noel know in the toilets that he's an F-boy, but so what? By then it's too late. It's almost a little bit too late, right? But, you know, Summer was a part of that reason why Noel wasn't there in the first place. So, you know, it's a bit funny that she's there comforting her. And like I said, everyone has their madness. Everybody has their madness. Okay, let me skip forward again. And we go into the conversation.
Or not was even being brought up. It wasn't something that I would have expected you to tell anybody. I do feel like you sharing that was a violation.
Now, violation, yes, absolutely right. Violating your boundaries in terms of her sharing that information with somebody who didn't want information to be shared with. In this conversation, it was an unbalanced conversation. And I'll tell you why. Because Summer, first of all, couldn't really share how she really felt. And I can't wait to drop a specific video about them too, because I'm going to go into much more detail. Summer has shown us already, and Jordan have shown us, that there's some passive aggressiveness when they deal with each other and deal with other people, right? They don't share their fullness of their vulnerability and how they actually feel. They don't assert it until their wires have absolutely tripped. This is oftentimes a big case when it comes to people that are avoidant with their emotions. And so what you're getting a sense of is Summer should have really let her know that, hey, I apologize for that. I was wrong about that. But you can see by Summer's face that she doesn't just feel... She knows that she already knew she was wrong because she admitted that to Preston. So she really came to say sorry. But her own needs were also not being met. And Jordan didn't allow for space for Summer to be able to share. Or rather, I should say, Summer didn't create her own space to share those feelings. Whichever one comes first. But in that sense, it's because you're not assertive about how you feel and letting people know that these are your boundaries. You're too used to avoiding boundaries because you don't know how to set boundaries until somebody trips over a wire that you've set imaginarily somewhere, and then suddenly you blow up. And this is what actually happened between Summer and Jordan, right? Imaginary wires that have not been said, and then suddenly they blow up. Right? And so in this instance, Summer doesn't get to share her thoughts, and that robs her of an opportunity to assert herself and actually feel an ounce of, robs her of the opportunity of being vulnerable in that moment. And actually, rather than sticking to this anger and hurt, but actually being able to explore the disappointment, the frustration, the pain, exploring the fact that, you know, you felt like unseen, unheard, you felt like you were unloved, or, you know, you felt like you're being mistreated or mishandled in those scenarios. You don't get to offer that because you never explored it. Not with the person you needed to. And you did the exact same thing with Noel, and Shanice did the exact same thing with you, Summer, because Summer did the exact same thing that Jordan did to Summer. Overrided Shanice, and Shanice didn't say anything because, again, you're used to avoiding your emotions and avoiding telling the truth about how you feel, because people are afraid of losing friendships. They're afraid of the fact that there will be a consequence of feeling embarrassed and shamed and vulnerable and guilty if they share their feelings. They don't feel like they're worthy of sharing those thoughts. That's deep. That's real deep. Let's go on further.
There's no eyeballs happening. What is going on?
Look at my bow.
I'm giving
I'm gonna go first, guys.
coming here ever without silence.
Going further. We're gonna go further. I apologize, guys.
Doesn't really make sense.
I want to go further.
All right, y'all.
Let's go.
Let's go to the
I don't
dinner.
feel like you're as involved as I remember you being.
Apologies about that. Yes, not her catching with a bone in her mouth. Alex obviously called out Jordan, and I think it's a really powerful moment because it's interesting to see how Jordan reacted to vulnerability. Now, of course, Alex is not clean, right? He treated her in a particular way, and she felt some type of way. It's interesting that he said, listen, look, I just feel like you're not your usual self, right? He was offering an opportunity for vulnerability, but how did she read it? Let's just watch it again. Let's watch it. Watch this.
Do you mean involved like present or involved in like conversation?
Conversation. I don't feel like I'm hearing your voice like I normally would.
Maybe he just misses your voice.
I doubt that, but what else?
What?
So, you know, he was trying to share that, you know, he's not really been hearing her. He's not really been seeing Jordan like that. She's been a little bit more quiet than her usual self, which would make sense because she had an argument with Summer. So he offers the white flag, or offers an opportunity for vulnerability. And it's always interesting to see what people do when they offer an opportunity for vulnerability. What will you do when someone offers an opportunity for you to be open in that moment? Do you swat their hand away? Do you avoid it and say, it's not for me? Do you step up to the plate and say, actually, you know what, let me share something with you guys, right? How do you react in that moment tells you how you deal oftentimes with vulnerability. We've seen how Jordan reacted to a vulnerable moment with Summer, right? We saw her do it with Jasmine. We've seen Summer do it with Shanice and do it with Jordan, right? And Noelle. So we're watching people have vulnerable moments and how they deal with those things, right? Now, in this instance, the thing is offered and look where it's going to go.
What is it that you notice?
I mean, I just feel like Jordan's presence is really strong, and her voice holds weight, and I haven't really been hearing it.
So it's interesting what he noticed, right? He said, listen, her voice is usually strong and it usually holds a lot of weight, right? And it's true. It does hold weight because that's what Summer's talking about, having an argument with Jordan about. Your weight of the fact that you have so much weight and you're allowed to do whatever you want to do, yet when I say something, I'm going to be accosted. That makes me feel some type of way. Get it? But he's offering her this opportunity again. He's explained what he's seeing and what he's perceiving in this moment. And look where it's going to go, right? I don't want to go too deep because, like I said, these are separate reviews.
You miss her voice.
That's what it sounds like. That's what it sounds like.
Deep down, like, how are you feeling?
Yeah.
Now, you see her making the faces, you know, because they're telling her that, you know, he misses her. But and look, again, I don't think that's what he's really saying. I think he's really just saying that, listen, I'm seeing you down a little bit. I'm just trying to hear you a little bit more. I'm not really hearing from you recently and of late. So, you know, is there something up, right? But everybody's taking it to, you know, he must miss you, and getting her a little bit gassed. And that's not what he's trying to say, right? Now, maybe he does miss her a little bit, but maybe not in that capacity, though. But maybe he does miss her a little bit. But again, I want to get to the point where we get to vulnerability, please.
I have experienced a lot of loss in my life, and I have been responsible for a lot of people's lives, more so than I would say 99% of the 31-year-olds.
Now, she gets on she starts off really well because actually she starts giving us this great story actually because she gives us a background, right? And I don't go too deep into it because I want to do a separate review. I keep saying that, going to a separate review. I need to stop saying that. We're doing a separate review. That's the fourth. Behave yourself, coach. Anyway, so she just says there beautifully, I've gone through a lot of loss in my life. I've had to be responsible for a lot of things, which means whenever you have gone through a lot of loss and when you have to be responsible for a lot of things, you mature quickly, much more than you really need to as a kid. Because life circumstances have happened to you and you're forced into maturing very quickly, which is painful, right? And so now we're in this situation where you're forced into that scenario, right? You're going to look at life so much more differently. But it also means that sometimes you're unable to find a good balance when it comes to vulnerability because you've had to grow up so quickly to be able to be in a space to be able to handle responsibility that you say to yourself, being vulnerable, I don't have time for it. I don't have space for it. And being an adult, being an adult as a kid means that I have to put away some of those feelings in order to get done what needs to be done. So the foundation and the basis that should be built as a young child to learn how to be vulnerable and to live in that space isn't built. Because what you're really building is, I'm learning how to work. I'm learning how to handle affairs. I'm learning how to deal with people, but not necessarily in an emotional capacity. Right? I'm learning to do, but not to feel. All right?
I know. And it has impacted how I look at life. There are so many things that I want to experience with my father while he's still.
And that's where we're gonna leave it there. Like she said, she wanted to experience some things with her father And it's interesting that, you know, that came up. And I think, you know, it's interesting to see, because that's a deep conversation to have, you know, and something deep that can be very, very painful, and that leaves a charge in the conversation that people have. And then we had a Shanice situation.
Like, it's not me, and I didn't do like, and you know this, Bria.
No, I can vouch.
I didn't do nothing, and he like
for you.
Put my nudes out and like made it seem like I'm the crazy one. Like my case.
Now, of course, obviously, Alex got blamed for this, but he said, "Listen, it's not me. Blame Jasmine, because that's the real issue." And so I think these conversations on the table were needed, right? These were vulnerable moments that were needed. People need to share how they actually felt. People need to share what was going through their hearts. And actually, it really does open the group up and bond people together when we're being more vulnerable. But it also means that some people are going to know some stuff about you that maybe you didn't want them to know. But once you're free of it, they can't judge you on it, and they can't fight you over it. Once you've released yourself from that burden of that situation, you can't actually be held. So they can't talk trash about you. You know what I'm saying to you? Like, you got this. But I also understand it's very difficult. So in the midst of that, like I said, I think Bria also shared her point of view. And with Bria, it was also quite powerful because she actually got to say she felt uncomfortable and she felt inauthentic when it came to her and Jasmine's situation. And I always felt like Jasmine was a little bit dismissive because she brought the girl without asking. She really brought the girl a ticket. Right? Now, I don't know how much weight Bria's voice is going to hold in that group as a way of influence, but as she said, she feels uncomfortable with Maria coming to the house. I don't know what they're going to do. Right? She feels uncomfortable, so what will they do? Will they cartel to the consensus, or will they cartel to Bria and how she feels? And could this start off a little bit of a mutiny in the future? Because if that person feels uncomfortable, if someone else feels uncomfortable but they're not with many people or they haven't got a general consensus, will they also feel disillusioned and and unheard and unprotected? And that leads people to being rebellious against friendships, turning away, causing betrayal as well. So you've got to be very careful of those kind of things as well in those situations. But yeah, I wanted to leave it there and say that's my quick review. I think the show was a really great episode. And I'm going to break down a lot more stuff for you guys in the next couple of days as well. So look out for those breakdowns as well. Much appreciation.